Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Dr. Frederick Bidding Jr., aka Dr. G, captain of my ship, master of my destiny, author of my script, father of my family, PhD in history, Georgetown University. I first want to give a shout out to Brother Keith Asbury for inviting me back, and Dr. Kreke for welcoming me back.
Yay.
It feels good to be back home.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I'm going to get into discussion, but I can't tell you, especially for the young brothers listening to me right now. I'm so very glad that you're here. I'm very appreciative that you're here. It doesn't matter whether there's 6 people in here or 306 people in here. The bottom line is that I'm here to deliver a message, and we're connected in this moment in time. So it's not a matter of who's not here, it matters who is here. And the fact of the matter is that I was here, right? Walking these very same grounds as you were just a few years ago, few moons ago, right? Trying to figure out which direction I wanted to go, what I wanted to do. I'm from Philadelphia. My parents dropped me off and went right back up at 95 North. We didn't have the internet and things of that nature. We had one payphone. I was in Graves Hall first year, you know what I mean? We had one payphone, and, trying to talk, to people back at home was very difficult, and so you had to learn how to navigate, right? And so that idea that I'm able to come full circle, listen, I can't tell you what this means to me right here. I mean, I just can't tell you enough. So you all honor me with your presence by being here. The chain continues. The chain continues. And we're going to talk about the movie, but this is real life, right? I was you, and you are me. I reflect your essence as you reflect mine. That's the beauty of this. And the fact of the matter is that seeds are being planted that have been planted many, many years ago and are continuing to grow. It works. I understand the warehouse of mystique can be tricky at times. I understand that. But guess what? If you're able to handle this, there's nothing you can't handle. I think there's a reason why 70% of all Black professionals make contact with the HBCU at some point in time. Because something magical happens when you see an image reflected. Something magical happens when you see that there's so many different variances of who you are and the possibilities of what you can be. It's working. It's working. I understand there may be some difficult days, but guess what? Life ain't easy, but trust me, when you leave this place, you will reminisce and you will come back, and hopefully you'll be wearing my shoes, have an opportunity to make this connection and pay it forward, right? So this is for Dear Morehouse. Give a round of applause. All right, so here's the deal. I have a couple thoughts to put out here on the table because what I do is I specialize in critical thinking. All right, I am actually the Dr. Ronald E. Moore Endowed Professor of Humanities at Texas Christian University. That's in Fort Worth, Texas, 30 miles west of Dallas. Right? Okay, a minute. So we got Texas in the house. So for anybody who watches football, basketball, we're in the Big 12. May have seen us in the tournament. We almost beat the number 1 seed Arizona a couple weeks ago, or whatever, a couple days ago. And so the fact of the matter is that TCU is markedly different from Morehouse. We're talking about a population of 11,000 students as opposed to 3,000. It's not a PWI, it's a VWPWI, meaning very predominantly white university. You know what I'm saying? The only time I see anybody who looks like me is when I walk by a mirror or a window. Thank you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's like that. It's tough. And not only that, but tuition is, how much you want to guess? How much is tuition? Oh, keep going. No, like, 70 grand a year. And what if I told you 70% of families pay their own way? So I'm in my Prius. See, all right, without fail. See, every time, without fail, I've bet my daughter at home. Every time I say Prius, somebody got to laugh and chuckle, right? Well, gas prices going up. Who's laughing now? All right. So here's the deal. I'm in my Prius, and I come without the faculty lot, and I don't know why they do this to me. It's directly adjacent across from the student lot. And at my campus, I see Beamers and Benzes. That's nothing. I see Audis. I mean, what are you doing in like 19 and out? You understand what I'm saying? What else do I see? I see Teslas as a plural. And I've even seen G-Wagons. Right? Because y'all don't know what a G-Wagon is or how much it costs, right? So this is the type of ridiculousness I'm in, right? But at the same time, it pays the mortgage. So, I give thanks for that, right? So it's a treat for me to be in this space where maybe I don't think I have to explain as much because I'm in an environment where I'm constantly having to explain. You'd be surprised, amazed, and alarmed on how little these cats know. Now, mind you, I'm in an honors college, okay? Right, that's crazy. I'm in an honors college, so average SAT score 1450 and up, average ACT score 31 and up. So smart, but yet so clueless when it comes to race. So clueless, right? So I engage in critical thinking. So I have some things to say about the Black Panther movie, and I want to preface my comments by saying I'm not here to down talk and tear down Black people, Black Panther, or Chadwick Boseman, rest in peace, right? But I do engage in critical thinking. And so if you disagree, that's fine. Just don't come on up here and try to stop me, because first of all, I'm gonna duck it. You know what I'm saying? That's number one. That's number one. But number two is, if you disagree, that's good. You don't have to agree with everything I say. I do think, what I'm saying is legit. But what you want to do is figure out why you disagree, and then be able to articulate why. And then we can go back and forth. And then if you make a better point, then maybe I'll be persuaded. But other than that, I'm gonna roll with what I got, and I'm pretty confident in what I got, and I thought about it. But again, it doesn't mean as if I'm the word of God. Although I like to say that you guys speak to me from time to time. Okay. All right. So here we go. Now, just to warm up your critical thinking skills. First question: can someone answer me this? Wakanda is known for being what? You say third world country? Okay, we'll technological advancement. So the third world country was kind of like the veneer, but in actuality, the technological advance. So just in terms of critical thinking, can someone answer me if Wakanda is so technologically advanced, why is it that the head leadership of the entire nation is determined by physical combat? You say tradition? Yeah. Challenge like okay, so is this tradition in concert with or in conflict with this idea of being technologically advanced? You say conflict with either.
I mean, I think it is point. Like they do have all these technological advances stuff, and yes, physical combat in general just ends up causing more harm in the longer as we see it no longer. But they still have to know how to fight. I mean, I'm not trying to like kill the known people who fight, the known people who don't fight. I'm just saying that while not violence is preferred, you still have to be able to know how to defend yourself against people who will want to take advantage of you, like Killmonger. But like you just like walk in and overthrew.
Okay, so let me ask you this: if someone were to invade the United States of America, we would engage in physical combat with our enemy combatants?
In which year?
No, if someone were to invade the United States of America tomorrow, we would engage in physical combat with our enemy combatants?
Who is we?
We as in the United States of America.
But like, who specifically?
You say what?
Like, are you talking about everybody here, like everybody in this room?
Well, no,
like,
meaning that we have a nation, so therefore, if somebody attacked us, who would do the fighting for us? The army, and would the army engage in physical combat?
No.
Probably not. Okay, so I just, again, we're just warming up. I just thought that was interesting. This idea that you have this technologically advanced society, but yet the leadership is determined by tradition, right? I just thought that was interesting. It's no right or wrong. We just warming up. The second thought I thought was interesting, and I didn't even start my slides yet, right? The second thought I thought was interesting is, did anyone notice in the introduction the title Black Panther? Because I do remember seeing Marvel Studios. But anyone remember seeing the title Black Panther?
I believe I remember reading about the specific group that was called Black Panther. I actually can't recall it specifically yet at this moment, but actually a group that was called Black Panther, or had some type of the word Black
No,
Panther.
I'm just talking about the movie though. The movie we just saw. Like, was it prominent at the beginning of the movie? Like the titling on the screen. This
Oh, you
is
mean like whenever it's like said and stuff?
yeah, when they were starting the movie. Like, if you came in,
Oh, okay. So,
yeah. Like this is the movie called Black Panther. Does anyone remember titling? Okay, I just thought that was interesting as well. I mean, we just brought it up, right? So in other words, because what we want to think about is, even though we have a superhero movie, to what degree is there an asterisk or to what degree does it measure up with what we know as quote unquote normal superheroes, right? Because what makes this movie partly famous is the fact that it bucks the trend of the traditional white male superhero, right? And so by being part of a minority group or oppressed group, we're often in this position where we're comparing and contrasting to the dominant group, right? And so in the end, sometimes it's difficult to compare apples to oranges, but at the end of the day, I go up to the idea that they're both fruits, right? So I just thought it was interesting that it's difficult for us to think about how prominent the words Black Panther were displayed. And lastly, again, we're just warming up. Is the Black Panther? Because where do y'all? What country are you presently in right now? United States America. So they call us African Americans or Black Americans. Like for example, my queen, she's from Trinidad and Tobago. So technically, she's an African American. She was born in a different country, but she does the African diaspora. Right? So she's Black American. But I'm African American. My great grandmother, was a slave here. I'm a living descendant of the slave individual. Okay? But would you call Black Panther an African American hero? An American hero? Like how would we characterize Black Panther? Right? Because like Captain America is from America, right? Superman is, from Krypton, but he's in this fictional metropolis that they say is kind of like in America somewhere.
I mean, great.
Batman is in this Gotham City type abstraction of America, maybe, I'm not sure. I'm just curious, I don't know if there's no right or wrong answer, but what would you say, like, Black Panther is from? Does it represent Africa, America, African America?
I swear, our words always maybe just as I was. Okay, so the question is like, what do we think Black Panther specifically represents? That's the question.
Well, I just thought it was interesting that here we are in America, and at least as long as I've been living, there's been no major superhero representing anybody who looks like me, right? And then the first time we have one on screen, it's interesting how Wakanda is set it's fictional, but it's set in which continent?
Africa.
Right, not the country, y'all, but the continent of Africa. I thought it was just kind of interesting, right? It was just set in Africa, and most of the people have African accents, or if you want to call it that. And and some of the actors, like his sister Siri is actually from the UK. Chadwick Boseman is from America, but he had training over in Europe as well. And Daniel Kaluuya, the brother, is also UK. Get Out, remember him? Tears and all that. He's from the UK. Oh, in the back, go ahead.
Yeah. So I kind of like that question. Honestly, when I think about the Black Panther, like I understand that like it's supposed to be based in Africa, and like the character what's his name, T'Challa. Yeah, he's supposed to be like from Wakanda or whatever. But like I think because there's T'Challa and then there's Chadwick, and I feel like Chadwick is kind of the African American hero that we're looking for. You feel me? Like when I think of Black Panther, I don't necessarily think of the superhero per se. I think of Chadwick. You feel me? And I feel like I don't know. I feel like he showed us something to look up to. You know?
Okay.
So I see myself in him. So like,
Good.
yeah.
Okay, good. So we just warmed up. There's just a couple of pieces for us to talk about because actually I want to play a game with you, right? And the game is quite simply it's called because a cat has how many lives? Right. So what I wanted to do is play a game of like true or false with y'all in terms of investigating 9 narratives or potential lies about Black Panther, right? Hit it 9 lives instead of 9 lives. All right, so here we go. So we're still going to work, and again, as you all see, I'm quite user friendly. So as the spirit moves, if you have a question, we'll have which is appropriate. Okay. So all right, first question. Black movies don't make money. True or false? That is false, right? Black Panther has proven to be a money maker. Does anybody know how much it made? You would guess? That is correct. $1.2 billion, right? Absolutely. So you have to recall that again, all you do is just ask your parents, right? Like, oh, how many movies did you see of black superheroes? And then they want you as if you're talking, the other side. And so the idea is that many people did not invest in black movies for the longest time because there was this fear that if we put all this money behind it, it's just not going to make any money. And I agree with you. Oh, conspiracy is real. Morals Mystique is working here. Right? I agree with you that this is absolutely false. Right? Absolutely false. Okay. Let me see here. Did I do something? I know we paid light bill, right? You know what I'm saying? Because worst case scenario, I can still just run off the laptop the question. So the second question, actually, maybe I should just run up real quick and grab it. That's kind of interesting. Yeah. Oh, no, at least it worked for the movie. It didn't go out during the movie. 1 second. And again, all we're doing is engaging in the practice of critical thinking. I know some of you might be like, where's this guy coming from? Is he anti? Is he anti? I don't think I would get on a plane, leave my fam, and be here if I was against black people. Okay, I mean, you understand what I'm saying? I'm here because I want to be here, right? But what I'm saying is, here's what I really want to caution us against. While man setting this up, critical thinking is so very important because oftentimes we grow complacent and accept things that appear normal to us, only to find out later that there is always maybe another level. Okay? And so the fact of the matter is that has anyone heard of Hattie McDaniel? Anyone know who she is? Speaking of movies, well, who is she?
I mean, she was an actress in the early 1900s, so she was one of the first African Americans to win an Oscar.
That's correct. What were you about to say? That's correct. So she was the first. Speaking of Oscars, right? She was the first. We'll get to that in a second. She was the first non-white individual ever to win an Oscar in 1939 for her performance in Gone with the Wind. Now, does anyone know what type of role she played in that movie? That is correct. And so if you look at the credits, it doesn't say like Haley Jackson, or Haley Jackson, the Mammy. No, it just says Mammy. Like depersonalized, like she's like an object, like chair, right? Like stare, like Mammy. That's her name. Okay? And so what if I told you so? And so like, many of us might watch that role now and be like, like here she is, like, oh, you want anything else, boss? And what can I do for you? We look at that now, like, why would she do that, right? But what if I told you at the time she had a standing ovation? Everybody in the papers patting themselves in the back about, oh my God, this is progress. We look back on it now, we're like, But at that time, when over 80% of black women were actually working inside homes like that, this is like a phenomenal thing. And so all I'm saying is, I don't want us to be in a situation where 30, 40 years from now, our grandkids are looking at us like, well, right? Because in the moment, it's like the best thing we have, right? And so oftentimes we're afraid to ask questions because it appears as if we're criticizing and taking down. No, all we're trying to do is just put our heads on how's the discussion go? Head on what? Head on the swivel. My man, okay, hip hop, okay. Head on the swivel. That's all we want to do. 360 degrees, just making sure that we're looking at every angle possible so we can be tied in our game. Right? That's all it is. Right? That's all it is. Right? We take the good, and then if it could be improved, that's all we want to ask. That's all we want to ask. Right? That's all we want to ask. Okay, my man, I appreciate it. Let's give this guy a very round of applause. Yeah. So, let's go to our second line. Black movies are not marketable. True or false? False. Because has anyone heard of this movie? Oh, no, you didn't. How'd you see this movie? Oh, okay. Oh man. Okay. My condolences. It's kind of tough to sit through, but this is all we had back in the day, right? Back in the day, this is it. And so now, Black Panther is absolutely marketable. Has anyone seen this car before? Well, where did you see it? In the back, in the hat? Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, you can see. But you may have seen it in a Super Bowl commercial a couple years ago, right? When it first came out. So in other words, before many people didn't want to touch black, because they're afraid, there's no value in it. But with this whole, you know how it goes. Like sometimes it's like cool to talk about diversity in certain circles, and now it's like a trend. Now it's like a fad. You know what I'm saying? And so Lexus got on that wave, and because they do that, it's kind of like you have a hose, and you bend the hose, and builds up all this what? Pressure, right? And then you open it. So this idea that because there was no movies for the longest time, black movies for the longest time, all this pressure built up. So Lexus savvy got involved, as you see in the upper right hand corner, and and they decided to purposely invest and give money to the franchise so that they can have their car showcased because they thought it was going to be seen by many people, and they were correct. And so in other words, African Americans are absolutely marketable. In fact, you all hopefully have a chance soon, but not to be modest, but I literally have been all over the world, and what's so fascinating and powerful is to see how black man and black woman's fingerprint is everywhere. Everywhere. Did you know that we have Australian freedom riders? Anyway, first of all, let me remind. Anyone know who the freedom riders were? Uh-oh. No. Time out. So who are the freedom riders? Okay, so thank you. My faith is restored. Okay, I was about to send y'all back to high school to get your refunds. Right? I was about to send you back. All right, so the idea is that the freedom riders came mostly from the north down to the south. Good Trouble. Anybody know who that brother is? Right. He's one of them, famous, photograph. As they're coming off the bus, they're beating people as they're coming off these very buses. It's just savage, right? We the ones who are good. This is savage behavior, right? And so a lot of them came down just to do what? Register people for voting. What type of crime is that, right? But my point is that 7,000 miles away, we have freedom riders inspired in Australia. Did you know you have Black Panther chapters in New Zealand? I mean, in other words, people are constantly looking to us for leadership, right? Constantly. You may not know it. Just being here and just, you just going to the program back and you thinking, I'm trying to, you're just worried about your program. But no, people are watching you the world over. People draw inspiration from you and your strength. I mean, people know that if you want to challenge, hey God, send me down to earth as a black person. No, seriously, if you want to challenge, send me down to earth as a black. I mean, we all, everybody on the planet knows this is one of the hardest things to do. To have your mind right, to be strong in the face of adversity. It's one of the hardest things you can do, being a black person on this planet. People know that, and you have instant international respect. So remember that. And so, yes, you are marketable. You do have value, is what I'm trying to say. Right? You have value, 100%. Okay, all right, we're doing good so far. Third question. We'll move right along. True or false? Black movies can't handle big budgets. False. So all right, let me just do a little recap real quick. What is the average cost to make a mainstream movie? Anybody know? Oh, okay, very close. It's actually a little higher than that. Not that high, but let me see, bring it down. Bam, 150 million average cost, right? And that's not even factoring the 30 million on average it takes to market and promote a film, right? So I mean, this is big business, right? This is big business. I mean, many of us would be very fortunate to see 130, $30 million all at once, right? We'll be very fortunate to see that, right? And again, we oftentimes forget how movie ads are ubiquitous. You see them everywhere, from bus stations, to tie-ins at fast food chains. This is one of my favorites. Anybody from California? Okay, Bay Area Rapid Transit, right? BART, you know what I'm saying? Actually, speaking of Michael B. Jordan, Fruitvale Station, you know about that, right? Fruitvale Station. He died because that's where Oscar Grant was shot unarmed on his stomach on New Year's Eve, just 20 days before your first black president was inaugurated. Right? Remember what I said? He was unarmed on his stomach, but somehow, for some reason, out of fear of his life, the officer, I'm not laughing because it's funny, it's just so ridiculous. The officer shoots out of fear of his safety on a black man lying down in the I mean, look, just try that, on a Friday night, you got nothing to do. Take turns being handcuffed, and somebody on the ground jumping up. I mean, what's going to happen? You got the gun, you got the badge, you got the backup, but you not afraid? He got the cuffs on, he's on his stomach prostrate. He's on his stomach. You not afraid, right? You not afraid. That's Bart. I don't think he's sidetracked. The point is, you see how people will go ham, right? To sell a movie. I mean, look how they made the floor look like the ocean, painted the ceiling look like the sky, all for what? Pirates of the Caribbean Part 14? What is it? Something like that. So I can't keep up. All right, so big business. So you'd be curious to know that the budget for Black Panther was only $200 million, right? And did the investment pay off? Absolutely, 5 times over the investment. 5 times, well, maybe 6 times. I'm sorry, 1.2. Absolutely, okay. All right. Number 4. Blacks carry guns, only 2 big guns. True or false? All right, this is why I think the wheels start to wobble a little bit on the wagon. All right. So here's the thing. Who's our villain? Okay, Killmonger. And so my question is, Killmonger is a villain because? Wait, that's why I just asked, who's the villain? And y'all told me Killmonger. And I'm asking, Killmonger is a villain because?
He's a villain because the main character story is Black Panther, super disrespectful. Disrespectful. Killmonger is getting in the way of him.
Okay. All right. What were you saying, my brother?
I was just saying, I don't really think he's a villain.
Uh-oh. So he might be on my page. Okay, go ahead.
I mean, like my man said, whoever's in conflict with the
Right. Okay, so I see what you're saying about he's in conflict with the main character. But let's just break this down. Let's just process this for a second. We also just saw the movie. But okay, let's complete the sentence though. Killmonger is a villain because, like, what makes him evil? Like, what about his plans make him evil? Let's try to figure that out.
Yeah, he said one of the main things he said is we're gonna take control over them and like run the country. We're still pressing people leaving it. We're gonna run countries, control countries.
Okay.
So that's taking people's freedom.
Okay, so there's possibly taking people's freedom, my brother, and then my man over here.
He's technically evil because he's trying to get off the throne.
Okay, but then after that, well, he accomplished that, and then after that, what makes him evil?
Still evil because he's filming the king.
Oh, wait a minute, okay, he's starting to get more. What you about to say, brother?
I think what you're getting at is, let's do the down based on the
Well, again, I'm just going by the dialogue I heard, where he said, I wanted hold on, write it down. I want to make sure I got it right. You know what I'm saying? I want to make sure I got it right. I want to be accurate. You know what I'm saying? Okay, he wants to quote arm oppressed people everywhere.
I really don't think he's really not evil. It's just like Charles never put him in his position. He really just doesn't understand. Or like he said he's from Oakland. He comes from Oakland. He lost his father at a young age. By the hands of another black man, like obviously when he upset about that. But on top of that, he didn't like. It wasn't like he was trying to tear down Wakanda. He was saying he just wanted to help others like him around the world.
Okay, interesting. Well, I saw you in that flash. Yep,
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, my man over here, go ahead.
It's been kind of said by what's up, Larry? But it's been kind of said. But I wanted to kind of expand on brother over there's point. Because I think like this ain't how I personally feel,
Right.
but I think like I guess like the general consensus, at least in like this culture, he's kind of a villain because he's trying to upserve like those in power, like specifically like like kind of like white culture, I guess, and it's like that's that's kind of seen as a bad thing, like he's going. This once again, this ain't how I feel.
No, listen, right.
Yeah, but he's going like mess stuff up. You feel me? Everything's going smooth. So like, yeah.
Because remember, I think the name of the talk is called Black Panther or Black Power. Let's decide, right? And so I'm just curious, like, what does this mean if he's a villain because he wants to arm oppressed people? I'm just trying to figure out what's wrong with that. So go ahead.
I feel like they try to like portray him like the villain because he's radical, and not because like he's actually the villain.
Okay, interesting. Because he's radical. Oh, go ahead. You gonna say something?
Yeah, like trying to put guns in people's hands, like taking justice by force. Army guns. There's no peaceful way to after the resolution.
Yeah. No, I know. We should just ask our Native American brothers and sisters. You know what I'm saying? Take the land by force, right? Then we should. They can do something about that. Oh, go ahead, Nevada.
I think comment. Because I think especially how he portrayed the country, partners. Part of the group that he kind of talked like about war.
I got you.
War.
I got you.
And I'm sure that he kind of turned that way when Schumacher was in power. So they're trying to imply that Schumacher was to the war, like you said, he didn't want to go to war per se. He was trying to
Interesting. So again, it's no right or wrong, but because I don't know about y'all, but I told you I work at not PWI, but what? A VPWI, right? And so a lot of my white students, they talk about how they depressed and this and other things of that nature, that's fine. But while they get depressed, sometimes I feel oppressed. You know what I'm saying? You know what I feel? It's like, just the system and that sort of thing. And to my point, when you read about redlining, when you read about Malik with the same GPA, not getting a call back, as opposed to a white male with a criminal record getting a call back. And when we look at structural, systemic, it's not like we're just making stuff up, right? Like we're just tripping. Systemically, there are significant barriers in place that have been for years that make it difficult. That we have this extra friction that we have to navigate, right? And so it takes extra energy to overcome that inertia to really take flight oftentimes, right? We all know this. And so if you all feel at times oppressed like I do, I'm just sitting here just wondering, well, what's wrong with taking the most natural, powerful resource on the planet and distributing it to the least of these? I'm just trying to figure out what's wrong with that. It's a fantasy movie. I can't even be liberated in the fantasy space? Oh, that's interesting. But it's just a movie. Okay, just move. Relax. Okay. Again, I go through these and then we have a little discussion. I politics, it's all good. Number 5. Let's see what's going on. Black heroes are for everyone. True or false? False. Who said true? I heard first this. Why do you say? Why do you rather say true? Why do you say true? Somebody.
I said not true because
Okay, so you said sometimes the black coffee is still too strong for some. Okay, I got it. But let me hear you and then my man. Good.
Wait, are you in terms of audience or like?
Right, audience.
Oh yeah, like just like you have a new like Ariel, like Little Mermaid.
Oh, that's a good point.
Some people just feel like.
Okay, wait, you gotta explain it. Explain the controversy. They may not know.
Oh yeah, so
Little Mermaid.
What?
The Little Mermaid, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So just like some people believe that things should stay the way they are.
Right. Go. So what you refer to is was it for a movie or for a play, the Broadway play? So this movie. Okay. So what they did is they recast the main protagonist Ariel as his black assistant, right? Black female. And you would have thought, Chris Rock stuck Will Smith. I mean, what I'm saying? The way people were tripping about it, it's just all this nonsense. But that let us know that maybe not everybody is as accepting as maybe it should. Because remember, we saw Little Mermaid, we saw Frozen. I mean, what I'm saying? Like, we saw all these movies, and we were able to enjoy them, I guess. But yet, when you ask them to enjoy somebody else, now all of a sudden, all bets are off. Right? It's an interesting point. What were you about to say?
just going off this point, I just think that in general, like a lot of white people, it's not used to seeing new faces, so it's kind of goes well. I don't know, Obama was elected, and so the white president.
That's correct.
And the black man, so.
Okay, that's correct. And the technical term for that's called cognitive dissonance. Right? And again, I experienced this when I sat, because remember, I sat in the front of the class, right? And you'd be amazed, and as amazed and alarmed as I am at especially up until week 4 or so. All these emails to the dean about who is this, this, that sort of thing, right? Because they just can't handle it. Because as you all can see my style, I'm just gonna give it to you. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just gonna live my life. I mean, I've gone through too much. Yes sir. I'm at the point now where I got tenure, test me. You know what I'm saying? This is what it is. You know what I'm saying? I'm a dad. Good luck to you. You know what I mean? You figure it out, right? No, I'm serious. It's a great feeling. It took a long. It's bumpy road to get here. I'm trying to memorize. I can tell you about it later, right? But I'm here and I like it. Right? Staying on my own 2 feet, speaking truth to power. Right? Just like I was taught to do. Right? What Howard Thurman said, hold the crown over your head and dare the man to grow up and take it. See what I'm saying? That's what Howard Thurman said. Right? And I was the lead RA with Thurman Hall. Although I heard Thurman Hall is no longer, so that distresses me. But that's the topic. But the idea is this. Cognitive dissonance weeks 3 through 4, they write these emails about who's this guy. And the bottom line is, I have power. Now, I didn't say I have all the power in the world. I'm not the dean and the provost, none of those things. But if they want to keep their little 3.9 together, they got to go through me. And so they got to read my little syllabus and do whatever I say. And so, lo and behold, they get in the line and they do what I say, and my methods work. I provide them the opportunity to see for themselves. I believe in an independent investigation of the truth. They see for themselves. I ain't got to browbeat nobody. No. I mean, the facts speak for themselves. And then, guess what? 16 weeks semester, usually it happens without fail every year. I just got an email earlier today. Around week 14, week 15. Hey, would you like to go bring the bros would like to take you out for a brew? I'm good. I appreciate the sentiment. I'm good. Then I really lose my tenure. You know what I'm saying? So to your point earlier, again, excuse the language, you know what I'm saying, but we adults here. But hey man, some people just cannot handle it. Right? Like what? I mean, meanwhile, we have been conditioned to accept heroes of other races, right? And that's not a problem for us. You know, any Star Wars fans, well, you know, Lando Calrissian is the only thing we got. Then there's Finn. Oh, I'm sorry, but you know what I'm saying. In the whole universe, right? That's it. You got two cats to choose from. If you're a black male, you got two. Are there any black females in Star Wars? Oh my God! Let me think for a second. I got that. Oh,
No,
what
they make them. They make them aliens.
Wait, what? I mean,
Yeah.
oh my God. Okay. Oh my God. Okay. That's a. We gotta come back to that one. That's a whole other one. Blacks in Star Wars space. That's crazy. Well, blacked out, man. That's crazy. Okay. But the point is, some people just can't handle it, right? You know, even like articles like this, ha ha, he, not funny, right? Tongue in cheek, right? I mean, it's so terrifying, right? And so I'm a little iffy on that, right? You know, so what's our count so far? The first three were slam dunks. You know, yeah, okay. And then I'm saying that the villain thing, I wobbled a little bit that. This one I'm still wobbling on a little bit. Okay, all right. So you all tell me. Black Panther, okay, so we're 6 now. So we started, we started warming up a little bit. And see, we're increasing our intensity here. All right, now again, no right or wrong. You know, we got we just going through the process of critical thinking. You know, we're just trying to work our brains, right? Because again, let me just say this real quick. Dirt develops desperation. Oftentimes when there's nothing, I mean, you know, I don't know if y'all been in this situation, but when you're hungry, man, sometimes just the first thing tastes good. Even though it's not healthy for you, even though it's not good for you, but if you've been hungry, then yes, then that works for you. And oftentimes, because we've been so hungry for so long for redeeming substantive images, right, we oftentimes swallow whole what we see, you know, without actually taking the time to process exactly what it means for us, right? So that's what we're in the process of doing now. Right? It's not to reject the whole thing. It's just to say, because again, I eat fast food too. I just can't eat it every day. But that's all I'm saying. So, all right. So now we start to intensify a little bit. True or false? Black Panther is not a true superhero. Is it true or false?
True.
Why do you say true?
I feel like when you watch the movie and Killmonger first shows up in Wakanda, pretty much every scene between Black Panther and Killmonger is like this hostility, this mutual hostility. But Killmonger let it be known like from the jump his original goal, which is like to liberate people. And he was completely anti that, wanted to fight, wanted to do this and that. And Killmonger just wouldn't go away, and that's what it was.
Think back, go ahead.
I think false. Because I think in this, I guess in this context, it depends on what you define as a true superhero.
Okay.
But I imagine like in this society, a true superhero would be someone who kind of upholds the status quo.
Okay.
And that's kind of at least I felt like that's kind of what T'Challa did when he took out our buddy, what's his name, Killmonger. He kind of prevented the oppressed from rising. You know what I mean? So it's like I don't know. I kind of feel like people would consider him a superhero.
A superhero.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just go a little deeper, to push a little deeper. Because here's how I'm thinking. Superman can what? He can fly. Thor. Okay, Spider-Man. Hulk. Okay, so T'Challa. Black Panther's gonna jump. So the flower thing. So what does the flower thing do though? I mean, like
It gives them Panther
Panther powers. Okay. No, I'm trying to be funny, but so in the movie y'all just saw, like, how did he use these Panther powers to save other people on planet Earth? Because that's what superheroes do, right? They use their powers to save large groups of people, right? I mean, I'm just asking. I'm not dissing. I'm just asking. You know, I'm just trying to walk through it. But,
Oh no, I feel like that's being a little overcritical. I think within the context of the movie, like yeah, like he was kind of yeah, he doesn't have like typical superpowers or whatever. But I mean, there are plenty of examples of that. Like someone like Captain America, you feel me? Like that's like the whitest superhero you could get,
yes.
and he basically a carbon copy. But it's like I don't know. I feel like I mean I guess there is a point there with like yeah, like he's kind of like the first real big black superhero we've seen, and yeah, he does like he don't really got powers for real. But like I think like especially within the context of this movie, nobody really has powers for real. So it's more like I guess it's just toned down. I don't know. I don't know. I think that's being a little critical.
Okay. I appreciate that because it's not an amen corner. So I appreciate that he has the courage of his convictions to express himself. So I appreciate it. I applaud you for that. Let me get my man in the corner. Really good. Okay. Yeah.
Well, like, no, so if it's just powers, then I guess maybe not, but that case, like Batman.
Oh, okay.
He has
Right.
powers,
Right. Yeah, he's a regular human.
Yeah, but he's still.
Okay. Okay. All right. So that's a good counterpoint to Batman. Please. Go ahead.
I'm saying it's not it's a superpower. But I think for the movie, I don't know what the mind uses for the power, social power.
Okay. So I really like the Batman count, right? That is a good example because Batman is known to be industrious. I mean, he has like everything, everything on the man on his belt. Like, how do you do that belt? You know what I'm saying? So he's specially engineered that suit so that he can withstand the criminals in Gotham City. But but I was just thinking about that is DC if we're being technical, right? And I was just thinking like within the Marvel universe in terms of the Iron Mans and the Thors and all that nature. Just how does he stack up, right? I was just kind of walking through that, as far as yeah, he's in the mix, but is he of the mix? That's what I was kind of walking through, right? But again, I'm not dissing because again, if I didn't say something earlier, I told Dr. Crackhead, opening weekend, I rented out an entire movie theater, like 3 times the size of this, like 3 times, and had it filled, right? And told everybody on my campus. No, if you're down, come through, this is on me, right? So in terms of support, and remember, technically, is this money going into black pockets? Oh, yeah, see, that's the other thing. I mean, I just, it's kind of interesting how we're patronizing an idea, but the question is it truly vertically integrated in that sense, right? The answer is no. I mean, it was owned by Marvel, now owned by Disney. And even though we have African Americans working on it, in terms of the script and Ryan Coogler, the director, and obviously the actors, still at the end of the day, all of our money is not going towards black pockets. So it's another technicality for us to think about as far as how we fight oppression in various ways, right? Because even though no one has to go sit in the back of the bus nowadays, there's still ways in which perhaps our movements are restricted. Right, that we have to be mindful of. And the last thing I'll say before I'm going to number 7 is, do you all know the easiest way to control sheep? The easiest way. Anybody know? You said beat them on, man. Man, you need to stop watching First Prince, bro. I mean, come on, man. Anybody else? Easiest way to control sheep.
I mean,
You said no?
that's believing, but also.
You said beat them on? Interesting. So, go ahead. You say control their thinking? So, oftentimes I ask this, a lot of people say, well, just put them in a cage, put them in a small container. Actually, the easiest way to control sheep, put them in an open field. So we have to oftentimes think about to what degree is our freedom relative. It appears as if we have certain freedom of movements, but we just constantly have to be thinking to what degree are we also maybe part of larger dynamics that have been brought out before we even had a chance to navigate. And so, even though we think, we're, being independent, in actuality, we might be following the script more than we would care to admit. Let's move on. So, I would argue that we definitely saw power demonstrated by Dora Milaje. They're pretty badass. So that was awesome, just in terms of visual, and harking back to does anyone know the tribe that does this? That does the ring, the neck nomination. So there's an actual tribe that does this, and then what they do is by degrees, like add on additional rings. It's fun. Yeah, yes. So thank you, Dr. Cricket. So and what's so fascinating is that one of the surefire death sentence is to actually take off the rings because the neck can't support itself, right? So absolutely fascinating. Just another take on humanity. You know what I mean? All right. Absolutely. All right. So strong system. All right. So we got a couple more here. Blacks don't have power over whites in this movie. True or false? Don't say true. Why?
Well, even with the CIA operative, when he was questioning T'Challa about the vibranium, it was almost like T'Challa was afraid to tell him the truth. And even with Killmonger, the scene where he was telling him about how he was trained, it was almost like Wakandan inferior to a superior trained American officer.
Okay, interesting. I did notice that as well. It's almost like he was like kind of hiding it, and then I think I interrupted, and then they kind of changed the situation. Were you gonna say something, brother?
Yes. I think that in some ways, yes, some ways, no. But as far as the vibranium, I think that this was something that was highly sought after. And there's only been certain instances in history where white people have been able to obtain it. And that's why they're willing to go to war over it because it is the strongest metal in that version of Earth. And I think that T'Challa and previous kings of Wakanda were saying that this is not something that's meant for the rest of the world because they'll use it to abuse it, the natural resource. And I think what they were trying to do through the through the Black Panther storyline was trying to project this thing of how Africa is constantly raped of its resources, and that wasn't about to happen in this. And so it kind of reminded me of Ethiopia during the time where they was doing the scramble for Africa, where Ethiopia would not bend to the will of Europe.
Okay. And a good book to read on that is how Europe underdeveloped Africa. If y'all can read about that phenomenon. And in fact, just another way to think of it is think about it this way. Obviously, Africa is larger in size than the continent, but still South America is roughly around the same size and shape, ironically. How many countries in South America? Like 13. How many countries in the continent? It's like over 50, right? Just in terms of concentration of power, and that is a part of what you just described, right? Absolutely, 100%. And so, how do you think the movie might read different if you did see Black power over whites? Because, and I was going to show you a slide, but most of the fight scenes that I recall were blacks fighting who? Blacks. So I'm just curious, like in terms of psychologically, how do you think, in terms of 1.2 billion, do we still reach that number if we have more scenes? Because remember, Cloud, right? He was a detestable character. So Cloud was a detestable character, but it was only like one of him, right? But I'm just curious, like, what if there was like a whole nation of cats like him trying to raid Wakanda at the very end? What that would have done in terms of seeing whites vanquished by blacks. Has anyone ever seen that type of movie before? You shake your head and back it up. Like, why not, you think? Well, why would I be surprised? It's just a movie. It's just fiction. You know, it's all good. I mean, how many movies have you seen where white boy G.I. Joe goes into Mexico and clean up the drug cartel, shoots everybody down, or goes over to the Middle East to extract his teammate, shoots everybody down? I mean, even going back to the old school Rambo. You know, I mean, look at the body count on that. You know, of all the Filipino brothers and sisters. You see what I'm saying? So White White Boy Against the Whole World, we've seen that movie. But in terms of black man against whites and mass, I'm just curious if we've seen that movie, and it looked as if we had an opportunity to see it in this movie.
I mean, we've seen that out, but like, that's not like on the same scale, like,
I see.
at all.
I see. Not the same scale. So, question, is the movie as marketable, do you think, or as successful if we saw at the end blacks vanquishing whites who were trying to take this vibranium? Because that was what was happening, like you mentioned that, but we didn't necessarily see whites as the source of evil on screen. If anything, we saw whites as the source of what?
Savior.
Sainthood and heroism, right? I mean, think about who helped save the day. Oh, let's not forget our civil enemy, y'all. You say who? Yeah, I mean, he helped save the day. You know, I mean, I thought that was kind of okay. Good.
Yeah, I actually really like this point. Especially, first of all, yeah, that was really illuminating because I never considered that, yeah, in that final conflict, yeah, it did end up being blacks against blacks. And because, like, it's literally hard for me to even imagine in my head, like, a movie where, like, a black protagonist, like, fights, like, white enemies.
Think about what that brother just said. How powerful is that? That psychologically in 2022, we can't even imagine in a creative space what that would look like. Wow. See, my brothers, see, it's not a matter of like back in the bus, the colored restrooms. See, we wrestle not against flesh and blood. I'm not trying to get you too warmed up, you know what I'm saying? But it's in principalities, right? So the idea is that psychologically, the question is, to what degree are we still battling segregation? Right, in terms of our ideas. I saw my man first, and then you. Oh, go ahead.
To that point, that raises, it's my perception of it, that T'Challa, he was a weak man, that he couldn't even defend his nation, to this point that Killmonger was able to come in, and like you said, not this one, but taking Ross.
So, and again, let's not forget that, if you really want to go deeper, brilliant author and scholar, rest in peace, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, she talks about the relationship of firepower and potency, right? Washington Monument, symbol of virility. No, think about it. Like, no, seriously, think about it. If you go to Washington, D.C., has anybody been to the nation's capital? Okay, and I'm going to call you in just a second. Thanks for being patient. But the architectural style that's there is called, anybody know? Neoclassical. So in other words, they purposely built, like, think about, you've seen it on TV, the Lincoln Memorial, right? So you go up the stairs and the columns, it looks like you're in Athens. That's called neoclassical. So when we're building this brand new nation, we're like only 200 years old. I've seen chairs in Russia older than our country. You understand what I'm saying? And so the idea is that when they were figuring out in like around the turn of the century, like in the early 1900s, how are we going to build up our nation? They decided we want to harken back to the great Western civilizations of Greece and Rome, and that way we will be able to command respect. So when you go to Washington, D.C., the most famous park is the National Mall. It's called Federal Triangle. All those buildings are built in neoclassical style. So Greece, Rome. Why do I have an obelisk? Greece, Rome, Greece, Rome, Greece, Rome, Greece, Rome. Why do I have an obelisk? You know what an obelisk is? Thank you, Egypt. Thank you, Dr. Craig. Egypt. Do you know what the obelisk represents? Fertility, penis, virility, strength, power. Literally directly in front of which house? The White House. You understand the math? No. Here you are in the nation's free republic. The Democratic Republic, leader of the free world. USA, #1. And yet, we got all this Greek, Roman, neoclassical architecture, but smack dab in the middle of it all, in front of the White House, the central seat of power, I have an Egyptian symbol of virility and potency. And so, what's so fascinating is when we talk about symbols and images, what I'm suggesting to you is maybe it's more than just a movie. Maybe these are actually political representations that reflect and reinforce back to us the lives that we're living right now. I mean, think about it. Did they make movies about the Vietnam War in the 1950s? No. They made movies like Hamburger Hill, Good Morning Vietnam in the 80s after the Vietnam War happened in the 70s. In other words, there's a direct relationship that we oftentimes overlook, right? And so the idea that in order to market and package this correctly, mind you, this is the 11th movie in the Marvel comic universe chain. So remember, it's not a huge risk here. I mean, let's not give Marvel all this credit in the world and be so thankful that we finally got a movie. No, this is the 11th movie. We made like 3 Iron Man movies. We made, right? And it's based upon a successful comic book character from the 70s. So there's already built an audience. And still, even with all that, there was trepidation and tentativeness about, should we show Black power? We'll show Black Panther, but can we show and manifest Black power? My brother, thank you for doing that.
My statement's a little outdated.
Oh,
But I think
no, it's still good.
I think a movie that shows a Black savior complex, even though it's not on scale of a Black Panther or even Iron Man, is Django. No.
Ooh, you said Django. I see what you're saying. In terms of last 30 minutes when they went on the murderous rampage.
Yes, I think that the character development through Django of Jamie Foxx's character Django saying starting out as a slave. Obviously they show he has more intellectuality than most Black people at that time, stereotypically speaking. And that he's able to amass these skills over time to be able to shoot a man from 600-700 feet back, even though he's never held a gun.
Right.
And so in the scenes that what he's really fighting for is to get to Brunhilde.
Yes.
So basically free her from her capture in Candyland. So through all that, you see this oversaturation of murder throughout that movie of Django killing the white people towards the end of the movie.
No, I think it's a good point. And, let me just say this real briefly before we go on to the last 2, so we just kind of get home and, finish your space games. It is Thursday night. But with the Django piece, remember, we're talking about, it's not a documentary. It's it's a fictional piece from the mind of another white male, right? Kind of like the movie The Help. Fiction from the mind of a white female. It's not a documentary, right? And oftentimes, we kind of get in the space where, it was real. No, the Mandingo fighting, totally made up, right? It's the fact that it's actually showed in history classrooms across the nation is regrettable, right? And so, to your point about, he did have a character arc that did change. I still would argue that for the majority of the movie, he was under the control and behest of, what was it, King Schultz, Dr. King Schultz. And so I don't think he had as much agency as a lot of people played up to be. I feel it's almost like it was like a tale of two movies. It was like once the white characters died, the movie took on a completely different tone for me, at least. And so, I do get your perspective and think that it's an interesting one. But I think we both agree that even if it is a legitimate counterpoint, that it may not still stack up to the scale we're talking about in terms of Black Panther and superheroes and things of that nature as far as Black power is concerned. So so even if we agree, brother, that's a good point. I mean, that's one movie. I mean, let's keep on counting the list, right? It's a very short list. If we want to put that movie up there. Oh, Doc.
I just want to quickly point out that was the child and
Yes, Dave Parker.
that shows Black.
It was squashed. And my complaint about the Nick Parker movie was that seeing how he was in control of the narrative, I mean, he he could have ended the movie at any point in time. Like, why do you have to end the movie with quote unquote defeat with the lynching? Like, why not end it on, we have decided mentally that we're not going to take anymore, we're going to do something about it. Like, I think that would have been powerful, but again, I wonder whether the politics of, well, we're not sure how that message would sell. And so the fact that he did revolt, but everything was put back in his box like cat in a hat, everything was fixed before mom came home, that's the part that I'm looking to see us break that barrier, right? To what degree? Because again, my white brothers and sisters are liberated by what I call the freedom of fantasy. Meanwhile, we're often bounded by the gravity of reality. All right, a couple more. All right. Vibranium represents an advantage. True or false? True. So, question. We didn't get to it because it was in outtakes, and it probably won't play because I use my Apple Keynote and I converted to PowerPoint, so it won't play. But I was going to show you the outtake where he says essentially, and we will now give vibranium to the whole world for free. So what do y'all think about this? Wakanda has this advantage for the longest time. CIA agents are asking about it, and hey, what's going on here? And people are playing cool. Oh, we don't know. We're just a humble country. Meanwhile, we're not third world, we're actually advanced. But then at the end, he actually presents to the United Nations and says, we're going to give vibranium away to everybody. What do you think about this? Oh, ouch. I didn't even think of that anymore. Oh, wow. Anybody else? What do you think about this idea of giving vibranium away? Is it still an advantage if you give it away?
No, I wouldn't say it's an advantage. I think it would be more destructive.
Oh,
it certainly is an advantage, right? Like when you see what these capabilities have, how much can be done with it. But I think that would be very irresponsible. Especially what Charles first did. He was like, first we're gonna have these buildings, and this is gonna be such a way to figure out how the conduct can help.
right.
But just giving out that powerful substance of the building. As they're saying outside the world, it's looking at the wars.
So, does anyone know who Bill Gates is? Why is he famous? What do you think about this quote, y'all? He said he wanted everyone to have a computer, everyone to have Microsoft Word. The only catch? For a fee.
Right.
For a fee! Thank you, Dr. Cricket. That's why he's a billionaire. For a fee! So, we can have the vibranium, my brothers, but what's wrong with you profiting off your value? What's wrong with that? Why is it okay to have to give it up all the time? No, so the minute we have an advantage, we gotta give it to everybody. You know what I'm saying? Vibranium for why? You give vibranium, you give no. Yeah, you can come through me. I'll help you up, but you gotta pay to play. I mean, that's what we have to do. Is your water free? Is your water free? Is your electricity free at home? Is your electricity free? I mean, think about it. Water, electricity, natural resources. The way the system is designed, we pay for things that are readily available. That's how it's designed. Then all of a sudden, with vibranium, we need to give it up to everybody. See, again, this is what I'm talking about. So, see, this is the cat and hat syndrome. By the end of the movie, remember it's outtakes, we still gotta put everything back in its box. So we start off the movie with this advantage. But by the end of the movie, it all goes back in its place. We love white people, we save them, they save us, shoot down the people trying to harm the oppressed, and the advantage we have, we want to give it away for free.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm just saying, we're just critically thinking. I mean, I still support the movie. See, we can be complicated people. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. We can be complicated. So I can say, again, if I go out here, and, you put my camera, oh, no, I appreciate it, I appreciate it, I appreciate, But amongst family, I'm just asking some questions about the next time you get the chance to make a Black Panther 2. These are some of the things you want to bear in mind, right? About, oh, okay, this is an excellent start, but how can I push this? I mean, this is all we want to be thinking about. So it's not to take this down and, oh, this is horrible. No. It is about it. We do appreciate it. Again, I love Spike Lee, Warren's grad. But I have some critiques. I don't like all his movies. I mean, he's not Jesus Jr. I mean, you know what I'm saying? He's a human being. And he's made some flawed choices. Just like I have. It's just you haven't heard about me. All right, last one. We're in a post-Panther society. You say yes? Okay, right, what I mean by that. So this is more of a trick question. And it was going to this idea that for many people, the fact that the movie Black Panther was made, we're good, right? This idea of like we balance the scales, just like we gave y'all Princess and the Frog, we gave you Black Panther, we're good, right? That's our deal. In all seriousness though, does anybody know who Amir Locke is? Okay, let me explain who he is real quick. You may not have heard of him because you're all in Georgia. So this is a young brother, your age, Minnesota, who was staying at his cousin's crib, and the police apparently were looking for his cousin, not him, right? So the police were executing what's called a no-knock warrant, right? And it's essentially what it says, meaning that they have the authority to enter the residence without knocking on the door. They entered early morning hours, so he's asleep, he's in the bed. Now, I will say this, it is a fact that he was sleeping with a gun in his hand. Now, I don't know about y'all, I don't usually sleep with guns in my hand, you know what I'm saying? I mean, and maybe it's because, I'm just blessed to be in a situation where I'm not in fear of my safety, right? That's just where I'm at, and I'm thankful for that, right? But this brother, but then again, it's none of my business what people do with things that they legally own because he had a legal permit for it. And again, if you want to sleep with your, my Xbox controller in your hands, you want to sleep with your phone in your hand, I mean, it's none of my business, right? But he decides to sleep with this gun in his hand, okay? But bottom line is, and I think you all see where this is going. The officers entered and the brother was shot dead. And so the problem though is, guess how much time passed between when the officers entered the house to when he was shot dead? Anybody care enough? Yes? 10 seconds. 10 seconds from the time they entered the door to the time. So I raised this point not to scare you, but just to aware you that no matter how good or bad a movie is, the reality we're facing is that we still have some work to do. And my whole thing is, we're talking about the wrong thing. It's not the gun that we should be talking about. We should be talking about the true weapon in this was the ink pen that signed that no-knock warrant. That's the true weapon in this. That's the true weapon. Because Mighty Iron Sword, I read the scripture, right? That's the true weapon. Whoever signed off on the no-knock warrant, that's the problem. And so you all, God bless you. It's after 9 o'clock on the Thursday night, and you're sitting here because you're curious, you're thirsty, you're hungry, you're asking questions, you're stretching your mind. I mean, again, I disagree, I don't know, that's great. And then, I see what you're saying, I didn't see it, that's great. We're growing. And so I just want to continue to encourage you to make investments in yourself, continue to connect and communicate with one another, continue to build, because we definitely have work to do. Because when it comes to vibranium may not be real necessarily, but I do believe that we do share a vibe amongst us. We do share something in common. We are a beautiful people. If you only knew that there is a universe inside of you. If you only knew that there is a universe inside of you, who can tell you that what you dream is not possible. Who would dare to tell you this? You have power. You have value. Whether it's reflected on the movie screen or not, I'm here to tell it to you. You exist in space and time. Oh my God, the gift you have. Do not neglect it. Do not forsake it. Do not take it for granted. And lastly, brothers, in closing, something my mother always taught me is be of good cheer as you attempt to do the best you can with what you have. And if you do that, y'all all be superheroes in my Black Tigers. God bless.